jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Shri Rūpa Nugagariya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rūpa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Shaguna Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Shri Kartik Vrat Niyam Seva ki jai. Urja Vrat ki jai. Urja Shri Shri Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna Gargaraj ji. Hari Bol everybody. So this morning I read something about the glories of Srila Bhakti Pramoda Puri Goswami Maharaj. I read an article by my Srila Gurudev and also some things by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And now we're going to read some Harikatha by Srila Bhakti Pramoda Puri Goswami Maharaj. So I chose a couple articles that were published for English in the first time in Raise of the Harmonist. One is, what is it? An exposition of Bhakti as delineated by Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī. And then the next one is Guru-sevā. We actually read this Guru-sevā one a month ago, or however long ago. Yeah, it was like around a month ago, right? Srila Bhakti Puri Goswami Maharaj's on his appearance day. But it's such an important article that I wanted to read it again. So, okay, I'll share my screen now. No, okay. Guru-sevā. No, we're reading this one. Okay, an exposition of Bhakti as delineated by Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī. A brief synopsis of Prem. The Gaudiya Vaishnav's exclusive object of worship is Sri Vrishabhanu Nandini's most beloved Vrindavan Chandra, the son of the king of Vraj. The Gaudiya's only sadhan is the path of pure spontaneous devotion as exhibited by Bhagavan Sri Gaur Sundar, who is the combined form of Sri Radha Madhav. And their exclusive and ultimate goal, their sadhya, is Prem, the fifth goal of human life. This Prem belittles the the four goals of religion, economic development, fulfillment of selfish desires, and liberation. Prem has 5 prominent rasas, or loving moods, in which Bhagavan is served. They are 1. Tranquility, Shanta; 2. Servitude, Dasya; 3. Friendship, Sakya; 4. Parenthood, Vatsalya; and 5. Conjugal affection, Madhurya. Prem also has 7 secondary rasas. 1. Laughter, that's Hasya; 2. Wonder, that's Adbhuta; 3. Chivalry, that's Vira; 4. Mercy, that's Karuna; 5. Anger, that's Rodra; and 6. Apprehension, which is Bhayanak; and 7. Disgust, it's Vibhatsa. Although prema in these primary and secondary rasas is relished in gradation according to one's eligibility for a specific relationship, Gaudiya Vaishnavas completely reject discussions on ras that are inappropriate for or beyond one's level of eligibility, one's adhikar. At the same time, they prescribe as imperative discussions on bhakti that are appropriate for one's eligibility. Since such talks do not create a spiritual impediment, Gaudiyas never disapprove of them. Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī informs us, Sarvataiva Duruhoyam Bhakter Bhagav. Sorry, what is it? Sarvataiva Duruhoyam Bhakter Bhagavata Rasa Tat Padam Bhuja Sarvasvar Bhakti Bhaktir Evanu Rasyate. Non-devotees who desire sense enjoyment and liberation, and who are thus averse to Sri Hari, cannot possibly comprehend the sweet flavor, the ras, of service to Bhagavan in a particular relationship. Bhakti ras can be attained only by those for whom the lotus feet of Sri Krishna are everything. That's Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.131. One second, I just want to... Okay. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to... I spaced out for a little bit. He further says, with the help of a person's previous and present impressions, deep and powerful attachment, rati, to the lotus feet of Sri Hari becomes resplendent and itself becomes the form of bliss. It thus manifests exclusively as ras, the condensed liquid essence of integrated transcendental emotions. This takes place in the heart of a devotee whose every contamination has been washed away by the influence of bhakti, who is always joyful due to possessing an enlightened heart, who is attached to Sri Bhagavat, and therefore adept in the sentiments of transcendental ras, who remains intoxicated in the association of Rasik Vaishnavas, whose very life is the wealth of giving satisfaction to Sri Krishna through his service, and whose activities reflects the integral functions of prem. On the path of realization, that very rati, with the help of vibhav and other constituents of ras, attain its acme in the form of astonishment caused by highly condensed bliss. Vyatitya bhavana vartama yashchamatkara bharabhu hridi sattva jvale bardam swadatte saraso mata. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.132. When one's sthai bhav, permanent emotion, combines with 4 other ingredients, namely vibhav, the stimulus that causes one to taste one's eternal bhav, the anubhav, the visible symptoms of that bhav, sattvika bhav, the 8 transformations that occur when the heart becomes saturated with pure emotion, and vyabhichari bhav, bhavs that rise like waves in the ocean of one's eternal relationship. So when these 4 things, these 4 So one's sthāyi bhava, when one's permanent emotion combines with these four ingredients, then and when they sorry. Okay, so when one's sthāyi bhava mixes with these four ingredients and it surpasses the path of mundane contemplation and manifests on the platform of a radiant heart that is thoroughly purified by Shuddha Sattva, it constitutes ras. It is the basis of it is the basis of excessive astonishment, and it is only relished in a heart that is pure. So ras arises when one's sthāyi bhava, or permanent sentiment in one of the five primary relationships, mixes with the above mentioned four ingredients. When a person has no realization of his sthāyi bhava, and when not even a semblance of Shuddha Sattva is seen in his heart, his show of relishing ras and proclaiming himself to be rasik is sheer impudence. Such behavior only gives rise to anarthas. Gaudiya Vaishnavas continually remind us of this. The fruit of sadhan bhakti. Haribo, Pramila Mataji, and Raghava Pandit Prabhu. The fruit of sadhan bhakti. By performing sadhan bhakti, rati, bhav, arises. If that rati is propelled favorably, it matures into prem. As prem is increasingly enhanced, it progressively attains the extremely rare stages of sneha, man, pranay, rag, anurag, bhav, and mahabhav. Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī describes bhakti as a special potency of Bhagavan and the natural, eternally perfected function of the soul. Our endeavors, such as hearing and chanting, that we execute the senses in attempts to arouse that perfect nature, is called sadhan bhakti. When sadhan bhakti matures, it manifests as bhav bhakti, and when it matures further, as prem bhakti. Sadhan bhakti is of two types: Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and raganuga sadhana bhakti. The inclination to perform the sadhan bhakti that is aroused by gradually following the discipline of the scriptures instead of by spontaneous attachment is called Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and it has 64 limbs. The first 20 limbs are likened to the door to the kingdom of bhakti. Among them is acceptance of the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. When a person is initiated into the Krishna mantra by Sri Gurudev, he receives teachings with Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. He should then perform Guru-sevā with one pointed faith, considering Sri Guru to be a non-different manifestation of Bhagavan, and at the same time, Mukunda Prishta, Bhagavan's dearmost associate. He should have complete faith that all perfection can be attained by Sri Guru's mercy. Among the 64 limbs, the 64 angas of bhakti, 5 has been determined as prominent. They are: 1. Sadhu Sangha, that's associating with devotees of the Lord. 2. Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord. 3. Bhagavat Shravan, hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures based on the conceptions of Srimad Bhagavatam. 4. Mathura Vas, residing in Vrajmandal. And 5. Shraddha Purvak Shri Murti Seva, serving the deities with faith. Prem arises in one who even slightly performs these 5 angas. Qualification to perform Raganuga Bhakti. Only the bhakti of the Vrajavasis, which is naturally inherent in their Atma and full of rag, attachment, is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Bhakti that is performed in pursuance of Ragatmika Bhakti is called Raganuga Bhakti. Swarasiki Rati, or natural condensed absorption in one's cherished object of love, is known as rag. It results from an excessive thirst that is full of prem for that object. A person has the right to perform Raganuga Bhakti only when a genuine greed is aroused within him to attain the extremely pure and truly natural attachment for Krishna that is present within the Vrajavasis. Therefore, the Mahārāja state, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Pilabhyate Tatram Lolam Apimulam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriter Nalabhyate. The consciousness that is saturated with Krishna Bhakti Ras, the condensed liquid essence of integrated transcendental emotions, cannot be attained even by spiritual merit accumulated over millions and millions of births. Indeed, there is only one price to attain it: intense greed. If it is available anywhere, one must purchase it immediately. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 870. There are two types of Ragatmika Bhakti. One, Kamanuga Rūpa, that's conjugal relationship in which one's every endeavor is solely for Krishna's happiness. That's the mood of the gopis. And two, Sambandha Rūpa, relationship in which one identifies as Krishna's parent or friend. The unprecedented and renowned Kamarupa Bhakti exists within the Vraj Devis alone. Premaiva Gopa Ramanam Kama Ityagamat Pratam Ityodhavadyo Peyatam Vanchanti Bhagavat Priya. The sublime, pure, transcendental prema of the gopis, which consists of offering all of one's senses solely for Krishna's pleasure, is known traditionally as Kam. Therefore, even those like Uddhav, who are already so dear to Bhagavan, desire this Kama Rupa Prem. Kubja had Sadharana Rati, general attachment to Krishna. She did not possess this Kama Rupa Rati, this selfless conjugal attachment to fulfilling Krishna's desires. Learned scholars accept that although externally her love resembled Prem, factually it was not. In Kama Rupa Bhakti, pure conjugal devotion, which is transcendental, there is not even a scent of desire to satisfy one's own senses. In a Ragatmika Bhakta's pure self-conception, he thinks, I am Krishna's father, or I am Krishna's mother. This is Sambandha Rupa, Ragatmika Bhakti, and it is based on relationship. The word Vrishnaya in the statement Sambandhar Vrishnaya from Srimad Bhagavatam 7.131 simply indicates relationship. We should know that the colored men of Vraj are included within this type of Ragatmika Bhakti. The Gopas are prominent as Ragatmika Bhaktas because they completely lack knowledge of Krishna's majesty. Ragatmika Bhakti is twofold, Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa. It therefore follows that Raganuga Bhakti is also twofold, Sambandhanuga and Kamanuga. In describing one who is qualified to perform Raganuga Bhakti, Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī says, Ragatmakai kanishtaye vrajavasi janadaya tesham bhavaptaye lubdho bhaver antradhikaravan tattar bhavadimadurye shrute dhiryatapekshate natra shastram na yuktincha tattolo bhotpati talo bhotpati lakshanam vaida bhaktyadhikari tu bhavavirbhavanavadhi atra shastram tata tarkam anukulam upekshate. Only one who has a genuine greed to attain the bhavs of the Vrajavasis, who are steadfast in Ragatmika Bhakti, is eligible to perform Raganuga Bhakti. When one hears about the sweetness of the sentiments of the Vrajavasis, such as Nanda and Yashoda, from the Bhagavatam and other scriptures, an intense longing within one's heart to attain those moods without depending on the regulations of Shastra or on logic is a symptom of arising greed. As long as bhav has not been aroused, one is eligible for Vaidhi Bhakti only, and therefore one must depend upon the injunctions of Shastra and on logic that supports and encourages the practice of bhakti. That's Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 291, and 293. This means that Vaidhi Bhakti is performed by one who is devoid of rag and whose inclination for bhakti is aroused by regulations given in Shastra. Raganuga Bhakti is performed by one whose inclination for bhakti comes from a genuine greed to attain the natural sweet moods of the Vrajavasis and does not depend upon the discipline and arguments given in the scriptures. The Mahājans have stated, Vaidhi Bhakti has no power to bestow Vrajbhav. The method of Raganuga Bhakti. Performance of Raganuga Bhakti is described as follows. Krishna smaram janam chasya preshtam nija samihitam tat tat katarataschaso kuryad vasam vraje sada seva sadhakarupena siddharupena chatrahi tarbhavalipsuna karya vrajalokanusarataha. One should always reside in Braj and remember Krishna and his dearmost associates, whose moods one cherishes, and should remain devoted to the narrations of their pastimes with Krishna. One who yearns to attain the moods of a cherished associate of Krishna, should serve under the guidance of his associates present in Vraj and their followers, with his present physical body in which he performs sadhan, and also with his internally conceived perfected body, his Siddha Rūpa, that is suitable for rendering one's cherished service to Krishna. That's Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 294 to 295. It is prescribed that, if possible, one should physically reside in places such as Sri Vrindavan within the area of Sri Nanda's Vraj. But if that is not possible, he should reside there mentally. In his perfected form and his Siddha Roop, one must perform seva in the Vraj pastimes under the direction of the Sakis, such as Sri Lalita, and Manjaris, like Sri Rūpa Manjari. And with his present physical body in which he performs sadhan in his Sadak Roop, he should serve in the footsteps of Sri Rūpa Gosvāmī and other Gosvamis. Srila Kaviraj Goswami writes, Bahya antar ihar duito sadhan, Bahye sadak dehe kore shravana kirtan, Mane nija siddha deha koriya bhavan, Ratri dine kore vraje Krishner sevan. The practice of Raganuga Bhakti is twofold, external and internal. Externally, with the present physical body and one's sadak deha, one performs shravan and kirtan, and within the mind, that is, with his internally conceived perfected spiritual body in his siddha deha, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan day and night. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22, 152 to 153. Nirja Bhishta Krishna Prishta Pacheto Lagia Nirantara Seva Kore Antarmana Hoya. One who has attained greed for Ragatmika Bhakti constantly performs loving service with his mind in the wake of the dearmost associates of Krishna and Vraj, whom he cherishes. At Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22, 155. In relation to the limbs of Raganuga Bhakti, Srila Rūpa Goswami has said, Shravanot kirtanadhini vaida bhaktyuditani tu yanyangani chatanyatra vigeyani manishivi. Those who are well versed in transcendental knowledge know for certain that the limbs of bhakti, such as Shravana and Kirtan, that have been prescribed for Vaidhi Bhakti, are also limbs of Raganuga Bhakti. That is Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 296. This means that Raganuga Bhaktas also should execute the limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti according to their respective eligibility. If, however, one lacks the desire to attain a relationship in Vraj and only serves Bhagavan according to the path of rules and regulations of Vidhimarg, one cannot attain the moods of Vraj. This is such an important point. Let's reread this. Those who are well versed in transcendental knowledge know for certain that the limbs of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtan, that have been prescribed for Vaidhi Bhakti, are also limbs of Raganuga Bhakti. So the activity is actually the same Shravan and Kirtan. This means that Raganuga Bhaktas also should execute the limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti according to their respective eligibility. If, however, one lacks the desire to attain a relationship in Vraj and only serves Bhagavan according to the path of rules and regulations, Vidhimarg, one cannot attain the moods of Vraj. Such an important point. Furthermore, it cannot be accepted that one who imitates the performance of Ragmarg is actually performing it. One who pretends to be a Raganuga Bhakta and displays a greed that is artificial before a genuine greed for transcendental Rag Bhakti has arisen simply invites many types of anarthas. Another very important point. This results from indulgence in discussions that are inappropriate for one's qualification. Mercy alone bestows qualification for the greed of Raganuga Bhakti. This is like, yeah, so important. This is like essential for us to understand, really. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12309 states, Krishna tar bhakta karunya matra labh hetuka. The causeless mercy of Sri Krishna and his devotees is the one and only cause of greed for Raganuga Bhakti arising in the heart. Let me just reread that because we should really understand this. The causeless mercy of Sri Krishna and his devotees is the one and only cause of greed for Raganuga Bhakti arising in the heart. We're fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Other than genuinely following the path of Rag, there is no other means to attain Vrajabhav. Therefore, the endeavor to imitate the path of Rag is never to be equated with truly following it. The holy name mercifully bestows the qualification for Rag Bhakti to arise in the heart of one who takes complete shelter of Sri Nam Prabhu with a clear and sincere desire to attain Raganuga Bhakti. Such Raganuga Bhakti is characterized by extreme absorption in one's worshipable deity and one's cherished ras. Iha hoite sarvasiddhi hoibe tomar. By chanting the holy name, everyone will attain complete perfection in life. Nama Sankirtana Kalo Parama Upai. In the age of Kali, chanting the name of Krishna is the supreme means of deliverance. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 28. Only one who follows these instructions of Sriman Mahaprabhu and takes shelter of Sri Nam Prabhu in every respect will attain full perfection. May the current of the conceptions of the followers of the Rūpa Gosvāmī, the Sri Rupanugas, flow in this world. May we never show that we are not inclined in any situation to perform Sri Krishna Sankirtan Yajna, which has 7 tongues, 7 flames. If our increasing attachment to Sri Krishna Sankirtan remains one-pointed, we will achieve all perfection. With fearlessness and great enthusiasm, you should preach the message of Rūpa and Raghunath under the exclusive guidance of their followers, the Sri Rupanugas. Our highest aspiration is to become the dust of the lotus feet of such Rupanugas, and our eternal position is to be the foot dust of Sri Rupa Prabhu. That is everything to us. The current of Bhakti Vinod's conceptions should never stop flowing. You all should vow to preach the internal desire, the manobhishta of Sri Bhakti Vinod with increasing enthusiasm. These supreme instructions of the best of Rupanugas, Shri Guru Par Parma Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, are the sole life of his dearmost Gaudiya magazine. To preach and practice these instructions alone is the exclusive activity of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Translated from the Gaudiya, Year 5, Issue 12, January 1953. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next article, Guru-sevā by Shishimad Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja. This is an article, I know I just read it a month ago, but this is the kind of article it's good to read again and again and again and again and again and again. it's yeah. Hari Bol Prajumna Prabhu. Okay. The benefit of sincere Shri Guru-sevā. Shri Bhagavan bestows his mercy upon the jiva by appearing before him in the form of Shri Guru. Other than serving Shri Guru's lotus feet, there is no way for the jiva to achieve the Lord's mercy. The indirect secondary result of serving Shri Guru, the secondary result of Shri Guru-sevā, is that all anarthas, such as lust and anger, which are unfavorable for the development of Shuddha Bhakti, which originates from the three modes of material nature, are easily conquered. The direct result of Shri Guru-sevā is that one attains service at Shri Krishna's lotus feet. Yasya shakshar bhagavati jnanadipa prade guru martyasadhi shrutam tasya sarvam kunjara shochavat. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:15-26. The meaning of this verse is that those who maintain the ill conception that Shri Guru is an ordinary mortal will find that all their efforts to recite mantras and hear and meditate upon the purports of scripture ultimately bear no fruit. They are like the elephant who takes his bath only to immediately roll in the mud again. Shri Guru is Pratyaksha Bhagavan. He is the directly perceivable form of the Supreme Lord. And it is he who bestows the light of transcendental knowledge upon the jiva. The mysterious truth of Shri Guru Tattva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said, Shakshar Bhagavatiti Bhagavad Angsha Buddhir Api Guru Nakaryati Bhava. Never even consider Shri Gurudev to be a partial expansion of the Lord, Bhagavad Angsha. And Shakshad Dharitvena Samasta Shastrer Uktastata Bhavyata Eva Sarvi Kintu Prabhorya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guroshi Charanara Vindam. All scriptures and saints declare that Shri Gurudev is the direct manifestation of Shri Hari himself. Shri Gurudev is in fact that self-same Vishaya Vigraha, Shri Hari, who is the object of the devotee's love. But in his aspect of Ashraya Vigraha, the dearmost devotee of Krishna, or the abode of love for him. So Shri Guru is that self-same Shri Hari, who is the object of the devotee's love, but in his aspect of Ashraya Vigraha, who is the abode of love for Hari. The form of Shri Gurudev is inconceivably one with Shri Krishna and also different from Shri Krishna. That's Guru Vashkam verse 7. True, the worshipful object of our service, Shri Bhagavan, has personally appeared before me in the form of Shri Guru. Shri Guru is Shri Bhagavan's own manifestation as the eternal servant of Krishna, Nitya Sevaka Vigraha. And at the same time, he is Shri Bhagavan's most dear one. All this is to be carefully considered. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur raises the question, Shri Gurudev's own father, children, and neighbors consider him to be an ordinary human. Why is it that only his disciples consider him to be Parameshwar, the Supreme Lord himself? Srila Thakur then answers this question himself. He explains that whether Sri Bhagavan appears as Yadunandan, Sri Krishna, or as Raghunandan, Sri Rama, he is certainly the Supreme Lord of all creation. Among those who took birth at the time of one of his appearances, some thought of him as an ordinary human being. But does their opinion factually make him one? In the same manner, regardless of what other people may think of Sri Gurudev out of ignorance or according to their worldly relationship with him, his disciples always consider him to be the non-different manifestation of Sri Bhagavan. Sri Bhagavan himself has declared, Nanvarta Kovida Brahman Varnashrama Iha Ye Maya Guruna Vacha Tarantyanjo Bhavarnavam. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:80-33. O Brahman, among those who adhere to Varnashram, they who easily cross beyond the ocean of material existence through the instructions I give as Guru are truly knowledgeable in matters of spiritual well-being. Naham ijya prajatibhyam tapaso pashamena va shyam sarvabhutatma guru shushushaya yata. That's Srimad Bhagavat 10:80-34. Not by the ritual worship of ordained Brahmins, nor by austerity, nor by self-restraint can I, the soul of all beings, be so satisfied as by faithful service to Sri Guru. In this world, the birth-giving father is the first Guru. The one who gives Brahminical rites and instructions is the second Guru. And the one who instructs us in Bhagavat Tattva and gives us the Diksha mantra is the third Guru. This third Guru, the Diksha Guru, is indeed the most prominent and venerable. By his grace alone, the jiva crosses over the ocean of material existence and attains the fortune of finding the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavan. Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra, along with his dear friend Sri Sudama Vipra, resided in the home of their Gurudev. There he exhibited the highest ideal of Guru-sevā. Bhagavan Sri Chaitanya Dev also exhibited the same glorious ideal of accepting shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru Parashai, and rendering service to him. Pretentious Guru-sevā will never bear any real fruit. With body, mind, and words, or with one's very life, one's wealth, one's intelligence, and one's speech, one must wholeheartedly serve Sri Guru. That which results in bringing joy to the object of worship, Sevya Vastu, is indeed called seva. But a mere display of service, predominantly motivated by the ill purpose of securing personal gains, worship, or fame, can never be called seva. Diksha kale bhakta kore atma samarpan, Shei kale Krishna tare kore atma sama, Shei deha kore tar chiranandamay, Aprakrita dehe tar charana bhajay. At Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 4, 129-193. When the bhakta fully dedicates himself at the time of receiving Diksha, Sri Krishna makes him as spiritual as himself, permeating the bhakta's body with transcendence and bliss. With his spiritual body, the bhakta then worships Krishna's lotus feet. According to this statement compiled by a Mahājan, a great devotee and authority, and that although these passages were spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Mahājan being referred to here is Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Gosvāmī, the compiler of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So according to this statement compiled by a Mahājan, to the extent that someone surrenders himself at the lotus feet of Sri Gurudev, he'll be established in Diksha according to actual meaning, and he will attain the qualification to render service to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. On the other hand, if he simply identifies himself with the words initiated disciple, but neglects Sri Guru-sevā, or on the pretense of performing Guru-sevā, if he leads an independent life absorbed in sense gratification, it cannot be accepted that he is actually living a life of devotion, or even truly searching for the supreme goal of human life, Paramartha. filling the belly of oneself, bodily relatives with alms, wealth, or ingredients that have been collected under the pretext of using them for the service of Sri Bhagavan and his devotees, is such as so yeah. Doing this is such an extremely serious offense that simply thinking of such an activity makes one's whole body tremble in fear. No offense is worse than maintaining one's livelihood by displaying Shri Vigraha for money, selling Mahaprasad Charnamrita or Nam Mantra, or professionally discoursing on holy scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam. Wow, it's a heavy statement. Those who identify themselves as disciples cannot defend their identity. Those who identify themselves as disciples cannot defend their identity as disciple or Guru Das if they live whimsically in transgression of the standards of discipline established by Sadguru and the Vaishnavas, or if they abandon fulfilling the heart's desire, the manobhisheva of Sri Gurudev, and thereafter seek shelter and personal sense gratification on the pretext of doing seva and puja. Their style of living can never be considered pursuant of paramartha or transcendence. If one does not precisely follow the orders and instructions of Sri Gurudev without changing them, one can never do true good to oneself or others. Real Guru-sevā. We must assemble in an Ishta Goshti and deliberate specifically upon the eternal beneficial instructions or Vani of Sri Gurudev that have emanated from his lotus lips, or that he has recorded in devotional literatures, published in periodicals and journals, and so on. Accordingly, we must endeavor to fulfill his deepest wishes. This will indeed be called Shri Guru-sevā. Otherwise, as in Ekalavya's case, the efforts of someone who serves Guru according to his own whims, without considering whether the Guru is satisfied or not, can never be called Guru-sevā. Sri Gurudev never accepts the service of one rendered by one so arrogant. Conceited so-called service performed by one whose motive is to compete with the Vaishnavas for personal name and fame as though they were his opponents, or who hankers for disciples and wealth, can never be equivalent to real seva. On the other hand, what to speak of being free from pride? Someone who engages in true seva will feel a mood of utter humility rising in his heart day by day, and he will feel himself to be more insignificant than the straw on the street. Along with that, he will become as tolerant as a tree, which never asks for anything, yet gives everything. He will become devoid of the sense to be respected by others, and he will develop the tendency to give respect to all. Filled with transcendental humility, he will always be absorbed in chanting the holy name of Krishna. One attains perfection in all types of endeavors exclusively by pleasing Sri Gurudev. By pleasing him, one's perception of difference, bhed, between Sri Krishna's holy name, Sri Krishna Nam, his deity form, Sri Krishna Vigraha, and his own internal form and nature, Sri Krishna Sarup, will be dispelled, and knowledge will awaken within him that the holy name, Sri Nam, is personally Sri Krishna's own form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, his Satchidananda Sarup. His form is the very embodiment of all transcendental humors. It is eternal, pure, and completely liberated. That is to say, it is free from even the faintest scent of illusion. When the conception arises that Nam and Nami, or Sri Hari Nam and Sri Hari himself, are non-different, then the 10 offenses to the holy name be eradicated, and one will become qualified to attain the real mercy of Sri Nam. The truly magnanimous nature of Sri Guru. Sri Gurudev is the non-different manifestation of Sri Bhagavan. He appears in this material world just to dispel the darkness of ignorance and bestow Vishuddha Prema Bhakti, absolutely pure, loving devotion upon the jivas. Sri Gurudev, who is the ocean of mercy and who becomes distressed upon seeing the suffering of others, accepts so much pain for the sake of distributing this precious love. For this great treasure, the only price is sincere greed. That invaluable love will never be achieved through mockery. One who displays such mockery, which is completely disrespectful to Sri Guru, will suffer in hell for an unlimited period of time. If, without duplicity, someone accepts the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru, which are the source of fearlessness and freedom from grief, and which are the basis of immortality, then, even if he is sinful, aggressive, a fool, a wretch, poorly behaved, ill behaved, even the worst behaved person, then Sri Guru will never deprive him of of mercy. Such a Guru never sees the faults of others and always delivers the fallen souls. No one is the friend of our heart like he is. Our sole aspiration, our sole source of life is his causeless mercy and our unpretentious dedication to him. Our sole aspiration, our sole source of life is his causeless mercy and our unpretentious dedication to him. The antithesis of real service. Those unfortunate, arrogant disciples who pretentiously display themselves as more knowledgeable than their guru go as far as trying to rectify Sri Gurudev. They tried to change the example he set for proper conduct, acharadhara, as well as the precepts he propagated, pracharadhara, and the attempts to introduce their own special style of conduct and precepts. Due to the severe aparad, the offense of disrespectfully considering Sri Gurudev to be an ordinary mortal being, they bring about their own destruction and pave the way to destruction for many others. Just as it is an aparad to consider a bona fide guru to be a false one, promoting a false guru as bona fide is equally offensive. None of the endeavors to perform seva by someone entangled in the aparad of disrespecting Sri Guru can be considered Guru-sevā or Bhagavat-sevā. This so-called seva accomplishes nothing more than simply exposing the self-pride of such people. Is the service I am rendering being accepted by Sri Gurudev? This question must be reflected upon at every moment and at every step. Without considering this, the only thing one can accomplish through one's whimsically motivated activities or use of energy, wealth, intelligence, and words is the momentary gratification of one's senses. One mimicking the loving service of Sri Gurudev's dearmost associates through hard work and large donations is rooted in a spirit of competition, and when it is done out of envy by those who are discontented by the glories of others, then it will never be Sri Guru-sevā. In genuine endeavors to perform Sri Guru-sevā, envy and arrogance do not exist at all. Rather, humility is quickly kindled, and any intention to cause distress to others is unable to find a place in one's heart. Then a heart-rending prayer, full of intense, earnest pleading for the opportunity to perform seva, will arise. Will Sri Guru Padma be merciful upon me, his fallen servant, and accept my service? The greatest danger for the jiva. What is seva? I will certainly show them. What do they know about seva? Only I know its real meaning. This arrogant mentality is completely unfavorable for Sri Guru-sevā. If someone's heart is full of dispositions that are unfavorable to bhakti, such as enmity, and violence, then no matter how much he makes an external display of bhajan, then he is certainly deprived of Bhakti Devi's mercy. As a result of his offenses at the lotus feet of Bhakti Devi, attachment to the mundane sense objects will at once manifest in his heart. Thereafter, the tendency to profess himself to be a Vaishnava will manifest, a tendency rooted in the wickedness of fulfilling his desires to enjoy sense objects on the pretense of serving Sri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. At that time, the predilection to remain under the guidance of Vaishnavas and serve them will no longer prevail. Surely, being cast out of Bhakti Devi's shelter is the only factual disaster for the jiva. The cause of this severe disaster is none other than his offenses at the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas. As a consequence, the desires to enjoy wealth, women, and fame drastically increase within his heart. In fact, according to the logic, yadrishi bhavana yasya siddhir bhavati tadrishi. The fulfillment of one's desires upon attaining perfection is in accordance with the thoughts one had during the phase of spiritual practice. So according to that logic, whatever you do during sadhana, that's what will you will attain. Whatever you're, these worldly enjoyments. So according to this logic, these worldly enjoyments become easily available to such people. However, the unfortunate jivas understands their own undoing. They simply spend all their time madly engaged in sensual pleasures. They lose all sense of proper conduct in relation to bhakti and become entangled in various forms of ill behavior. Thus, their hypocrisy and artificiality verily increases. May the most worshipful Sri Guru Padma, out of his causeless compassion, bestow his mercy upon me, so that I may attain the qualification to selflessly serve his lotus feet according to his manobhishta, while remaining in the anugatya of his dearmost associates. This is the soul of a fallen soul like me, according to the principle of subservience to the servant of the servant of the servant. Amito Vaishnava edi hoile, Amito Vaishnava e buddhi hoile amani na havoyami apratishta shayasi hridaya doshibe hoibo nirayagami hoibo nirayagami. That's the song Kripa Koro Vaishnava Thakur by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I will not be free from expectations of honor if I maintain the mentality that I am a Vaishnav. Desiring prestige, my heart will become dirty and I will be bound for hell. Translated from the monthly Gaudiya, Year 4, Number 5. Hare Krishna. Such see, this article is something we should read probably at least once a week or something. so essential. Okay, thank you so much for reading with me. Hare Krishna, Shasharmaji. Now, because since it's his disappearance day, maybe we should we should sing Jayanila Premadhana, because I haven't done that yet today. I'll just open it up. Give me a second. One second, I'll just find it. Should be in projects. Proofreading. I don't have a mridanga or anything in here right now, but anyways, we could just do it like this. Okay. Everything's okay, you can see. Cool. Jayanilo Premadhana করুণা প্রচুর। হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর, কাহা মোর স্বরূপ রূপা, কাহা সনাতন, কাহা দাস রঘু নাতা পতিত পাবন, কাহা মোর ভট্ট যুগা, কাহা কবিরাজ, এক কালে কোথা গেলা গোরা নটরাজ, পাষাণে কুটিব মাথা, আনালে পশিব, গৌরাঙ্গ গুণের নিধি কোথা গেলে পাব, সে সব সঙ্গীর সঙ্গে যে কইল বিলাস, সে সঙ্গ না পায়া কাঁদে নরোত্তম দাস, সে সঙ্গ না পায়া কাঁদে নরোত্তম দাস, জয় নীল প্রেম ধান করুণা প্রচুর, হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর, হেন প্রভু কোথা গেল শ্রীল পুরী গোস্বামী ঠাকুর, জয় প্রভু জয় ভক্তি প্রমোদ শ্রীল পুরী গোস্বামী ভক্তি প্রমোদ, জয় পুরী গোস্বামী, জয় ভক্তি প্রমোদ শ্রীল পুরী গোস্বামী ভক্তি প্রমোদ শ্রীল পুরী গোস্বামী, জয় স্বপর্শরা শ্রীল প্রভুপাদা, স্বপর্শরা শ্রীল প্রভুপাদা, জয় গুরুদেবা গুরুদেবা গুরুদেবা, জয় গুরুদেবা, জয় গুরুদেবা গুরুদেবা গুরুদেবা, জয় গুরুদেবা, হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে, হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে, হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে, হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে, হরি বল হরি বল হরি বল, গৌর হরি বল, নিতাই গৌর হরি বল, হরি বল হরি বল, নিতাই গৌর হরি বল। জয় শ্রী শ্রী গুরু গৌরাঙ্গ গন্ধার বিকাগিরিধারী শ্রী শ্রী রাধা বিনোদ বিহাरी जू की जाय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जाय, नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय, नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय, नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय, नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार Srila Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Tadya Shubha Tirobhav Titi ki jai. Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nityala Pravishtam Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Nityala Pravishta Mahābhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Nityala Pravishta Śrīla Satchidara Nityala Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityala Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Rūpa Anuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rūpa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट शिशिमार श्रील भक्ति प्रमोद पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। तिथि पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाय च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वंशा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो namo namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this reading. If you'd like to have this article and read it yourself anytime, you can find it. If you go on Google search and wait, what issue is it? Okay, just go in Google search, type in Raise of the Harmonist, and type in Kārtika 2008. If you do that, the first thing that will come up is the PDF for this article. And then you can have to read whenever, anytime. All right, Haribol, everybody. Thank you so much for reading with me. Jai Shri Radhe. Haribol, Pramila Mataji.